Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. This is a little commentary on the event that happened yesterday where you had Russian and Chinese nuclear capable bombers and their supporting fighter aircraft come across into the defense zone of the U.S. in Alaska up that way, and we had to respond. Send out some couple jets and say, y'all need to back the truck up. Well, that got me thinking this morning about how vulnerable we are, right? Because my uneducated or not educated enough, I don't get to sit in the Situation Room in the White House kind of thing. But every once in a while, I look at the Bering Strait, right? And right there is Russia. There was a presidential candidate or a vice presidential candidate that made that comment, got laughed out of. It's true. That distance is something we should not forget, right? That shortest distance is next to only a distance from Cuba. But we have these aircraft coming across and they get intercepted. That's good. The Chinese and the Russians are probably saying everything that we do. Come on, chill. We're just out doing military exercises. No, what they're really doing is they're probing together. Yes, it's an exercise, but they're probing together. They are testing our response, in this case, a response to a nuclear threat from bombers. Now, there are two things to consider here, right? We need to pay attention to what's happening in Ukraine and in Gaza. The strategy being used by both Ukrainians and Russians there and with Hamas is they use cheap ordnance and they just overwhelm the enemy. The Hamas has in fact overwhelmed Iron Dome, which is like amazing how they do that, but they threw a lot of stuff at Israel. Ukraine and Russia both use swarms of drones or to send ordnance to each other, and that works, right? The objective is you overwhelm the other guy's ability to respond. I mean, we have a lot of cool war toys. I was just talking to someone who's retired Navy, couple Navy people, right? Blue Water Navy, blows up shit. And when you think about an aircraft carrier, a U.S. aircraft carrier, you think about the carrier group, and that is they got one job. That's to not let the carrier get sunk. So when you look at the carrier and there's all those boats around it, they got one job: keep the carrier afloat. That's their job. And they got all kinds of toys on those boats that are in the perimeter, right? And those are the ones that have all the cool Gatling gun and the one that just drops brass out of it, and yeah, totally ineffective against a swarm. That is a final act of protection for the vessel. Go back to World War II. The Japanese got that. They broke the code. And they call it silent wind, or the kamikaze pilots. They were very successful. Don't get that twisted. I mean, they just ran out of pilots and airplanes. Otherwise, who knows how that would have gone in the South Pacific, right? That was a last-ditch effort. Those toys that are on the boats around the carrier are last-ditch efforts, and they're for somebody who's sending stuff up in the atmosphere and coming down. Sometimes it's all these little drones that are coming on the ocean. We don't have enough bullets to deal with being swarmed. Go back to Alaska. I'm going to make up an aircraft. This is an aircraft that has big old wings, carries a bunch of bombs, including nuclear cruise missiles. Not ballistic missiles that have to go up in the atmosphere and come down, because I'm going to talk about that in a second. But cruise missiles. You just launch those bitches right from under your wing and they go, right? They don't go up in the atmosphere. So all of our countermeasures for stuff that's coming back down on us don't work. Going to talk about that in a second. So if I had this aircraft and I could just sit inside my national borders in Russia or China, either one or both, and I just sit there and I just launch, and I launch everything I have at NORAD and every satellite station in Alaska. Everyone, take them all out. Now the U.S. has been blinded in one eye. Now I increase the tempo of my attack, and here come the submarines. And from the submarines, they do their thing. So now there's been 2 attacks, not boots on the ground yet. They soften up Alaska. I'm going to attack Juneau. Juneau is the capital of Alaska, so it has, emotional value for somebody. But it has the flag, it has a state flag, it has all those symbols. So I'm going to go after Juneau, and I'm going to hold it. Doing this will scare the fuck out of America. Hopefully it would wake up the citizens of America and let them understand we are not invulnerable. We are not invulnerable. We have some countermeasures. But you out there who might have just found this channel and you don't carry a gun, you're not a prepper, I don't know why you're looking at my channel. But even those that are preppers, you need to think about what happens. I'm not talking about Wolverine shit. I'm talking about a serious ground attack on a state that would be successful. Look where Alaska is. I mean, worst case, even if they end up getting dislodged, the trauma to America would be greater than 9/11. Now, let me talk about the things that America does have in place. I'm going to have to read some notes here in a second. I got 2 computers going, right? The curse of research. So there are 4 military strategies, and then a 5th, I'm going to say bullshit, right? But let me go back to, and then they're not in order, they're just on the list here. So there are 4 of these. One is called the ground-based mid-course defense, or GMD, Golf Mike Delta, mid-course. That says I'm going to intercept at the maximum altitude mid-course for ballistic missiles. Way to fuck up there. So we got that. We can see them coming. Okay, we're going to get them mid-Bering Strait. We're going to get them there because we can. We can catch them mid-journey. We can catch them there. But I'm not talking about ballistic missiles that go up into the stratosphere and come back down. I'm talking about cruise missiles, man. Lots of them. So that first thing, mid-course thing, is not going to do the trick. Let's talk about number 2. That is the Alaska Command. They're just a military organization that has the official responsibility to defend Alaska, right? It's federal. If they're any indication to how lazy those fucks are in the Midwest with our nuclear silos, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence, because you got human beings that have the title of being responsible. I'm not convinced that because we have not been in, now you got war fighters up there, but they've been in the sandbox. They have not been fighting an enemy against America directly. How's that going to work? I don't know. Gives me a high confidence? No, because we haven't been to war. We have war fighters who have been to war, but we haven't had boots on the ground or bombs on the ground from an enemy nation, right, into America. So that's the second one. Whoever these people are that are responsible for protecting Alaska. So that's strategy number 2 that I don't think is very effective. The third one There still is the 10th Mountain Infantry, their army. They used to live in Alaska. I mean, that was their thing. They were the cold weather people. Where do we send them? Over to the sandbox. It took almost 2 years to retrain an entire regiment to go from cold water fighting to hot weather fighting. Yeah. Right. Now, there is still somebody there. It's called the 11th. The 11th what? The 11th Airborne Division. Woohoo! So we still have a division up there. But, I mean, what? The bad guys know where their headquarters are. So guess what? They all got taken out. Right? And see, America plays by the rules, right? We don't embed our military into civilian infrastructure. So, like Hamas does, and like every fucking Muslim country in the world does with their people, especially Muslim organizations like Hamas and those other guys in the sandbox. So that's the third one. Okay, so we got a division up there. That ain't gonna do shit. It's a bunch of humans sitting around, right? And if they're like any other army division, they don't have a bunch of toys that's gonna get and make a difference. We don't have Iron Dome in Alaska. You know, we don't have that shit. Why? Because we haven't never been bombed like that from an enemy. So we helped Israel build Iron Dome and sold it to them. So those are the three things that are in place officially, supposedly, to protect entrance from into and from Alaska. That's the fourth one. I mean, the third one. The fourth one is a strategy. I love this. This is, oh man. Now this is a strategy, right? Strategy. Department of Defense. Yeah, Department of Defense says we have a strategy. They will tell you, yes, we have a strategy. What is it? Well, you know, if I tell you, I have to kill you. Right? So that's the fourth thing is, yeah, we do have a strategy, and you know, if shit happens, we have a strategy. I'm sorry, that doesn't blow my dress up, right? The fifth one, now this is all supposed to protect Alaska, U.S., Alaska from an attack, a concerted attack from Russia and China together or separately, as they try to come across the Bering Strait, right? As they come across the Bering Strait. They blind us, and then enter the ground troops, because now we can't see them coming like you want to. Oh wait, we got satellites up there. Please. I don't care what they're talking about at the UN or any other. Everybody's got the ability to knock out everybody else's satellites. We do, they do, we do. Right? Now there is an argument that's bullshit that somebody says, oh, nobody's gonna do that. If you blow up a satellite, it's gonna put space junk in space. Oh, really? You know how many thousands of pieces of big space junk are already there? And there's a company whose job it is to go and clean the trash up. What do you think happens when we say we're going to launch a thing and it's going to go straight up through the atmosphere, through the stratosphere and all that, and then hit space? I'm telling you, there are people in NASA and other places, they have to calculate how they're going to avoid the shit that they have to navigate through, or pay somebody to clear a path. Think of it like you just dove in the water off a boat in the Caribbean, and as you're trying to come up, there's stuff preventing you from going just straight up. So you have to do whatever you do to come up so you get some air. Somebody's got to do something, or you're going to hit the space junk and there goes your mission. So the fact that you're going to create space junk is not a reason to not shoot down somebody else's satellite. I'll do it. So the first thing that would happen is that America would be blinded. There would be no warning. And here's the sad thing. The American people are weak, limp dick, snowflake, woke motherfuckers. That's the American people. At least half of the American people are that stupid. Makes me sad, but that's true. That's my feeling about half of the American people. Right? And you figure out your reasons for why one half is stupid and the other half is not. That's up to you. Okay? But you've got this situation where the American people, we have not had enemy boots on the ground since 1812. That was when the British got mad at us again. Blockaded the Atlantic coast, all that shit happened. And they put boots on the ground and attacked us again. Yeah, that was the last time bad guys put boots on the ground in the United States as a sovereign nation, right? Now, the good news is Americans and Australians are sneaky bastards. Sneaky bastards. We invented sneaky, right? And what happened was Andrew Jackson to the Battle of New Orleans. You know, we sent 5,000 or so British redcoats running back to their boats all the way back to the Atlantic or in the Gulf. I don't know if they had their boats out there. But we fucked them up. Sent them crying, and they said, okay, we're friends again. That was the British. That was 1812. The only thing we have experienced is our soldiers. Our soldiers in World War II. Our soldiers in World War I. Our soldiers in Korea. The public got to send them off to war, marching bands, all that shit, and welcome the bodies back or the wounded back. That's what the American people got to do, and that's what we still do. But as individual people, right? Now, I don't know how many people live around me that if a call came out, they could be Minutemen. I don't know. You need to be prepared to receive that call. And you know what? It might never happen. But now it's probable. And it's probable in our lifetime. Forget fucking weather, climate change, forget all that stuff. Forget asteroids. You know, they gotta find something for us to be afraid of. You wanna be afraid of something? You want to be prepared for something? Think about what happens if Russia, China take Alaska via okay, come on, not Anchorage, but I just said it. You know, the capital, Juneau, Alaska. So even if we're able to drive them out, who the fuck is we, drive them out of Juneau, Alaska, and out of Alaska in general, it's going to traumatize the fuck. If you think 9/11 traumatized American civilians, this would. Because now everybody's going to, I think the draft would come back like a nanosecond after the first missile hit. So is it possible? Absolutely. Is it probable? Well, the probability in my mind has gone up to 50%. Why? Because it's my brain. I can make that number up if I want to. Do I have any more detailed facts? No, because I'm not read into all this shit that the Defense Department and others talk about. What I am saying is, you as a citizen, military or not, but as a citizen, you need to get your head ready for what if that happened. Now, if you go, it will never happen, that's up to you. That's up to you. And if you're living down in I don't know, some Midwest city, you can say that. You can say that. If you're living in Alaska, you know, I'd hate to be the enemy boots on the ground. If you're looking at what Russia's trying to field in Ukraine versus our Alaska beard wearing guys and ladies, oh fuck. They're dead man walking. Chinese soldiers, the Chinese army have not been in any kind of major war forever. So they're as fucked up as we are as far as having combat effectiveness. So that's what I was thinking about, because that just happened. Those are my thoughts. I'd welcome yours. If you have found this channel and you'd like to get notified when there's content, subscribe, but you got to hit the bell icon to get notified. And like I say all the time, wherever you can, whenever you can, however you can, carry on.